Merry Christmas and good night.
Welcome to In Frame Out's Year in Film, where we take stock of 12 months of spectacular cinema and unfortunate rubbish. Having whittled down the 140 plus releases from 2022 we managed to watch into our upcoming end of the year lists, there was still an abundance of glorious gold and football in the groin garbage worth some rumination. So, before we get to the best and worst movies of 2022, here's a video where we celebrate and commiserate the honourable and dishonourable mentions that narrowly missed their respective top 10s. If you'd like to help keep the channel alive through 2023 and beyond, check out the link in the description below. Honourable mentions.
There's no something without nothing.
A gorgeous rumination on memory and attachment as observed by an existential android, it'd be easy but wildly reductive to call After Yang A24's answer to AI or Bicentennial Man for art students. While it touches on the same what does it mean to be human templates, here the world building is teased with a soft, imperceptibly delicate touch, hinting at a troubled techno-future and teasing transhumanistic quandaries without ever losing the emotional focus of its modest, yearning gaze. A story of familial bonds, bereavement, and the fleeting moments that leave a mark long after. After Yang will break your heart 1 millimeter at a time. After Sun is figuratively and literally akin to scrubbing through old camcorder footage of a family holiday and realizing it's out of sync. Can we reconcile our sun-bleached memories of childhood with a lifetime of hindsight? And is it even possible to truly understand our parents? After Sun is a deliberate, impressionistic attempt to sift for meaning amidst these unanswerable questions. A futile quest to scratch at the stains of nostalgia to try and make sense of life-altering moments that once seemed so ordinary and unimportant. It's absolutely marvelous. By slamming self-conscious 30-something insecurities against an entrenched collective narcissism that leads so many folks to believe being liked by absolutely everybody is an entitlement, All My Friends Hate Me does for social discomfort and galling conversations what Audition did for needles and razor wire. By elevating everyday anxious thoughts like, is everyone talking about me behind my back, and are people secretly annoyed at me, far past the point of awkward cringing and into apprehensive agony, All My Friends Hate Me is a comedy so harsh you might chew through your own teeth.
There's been a lot of talk about the new Elvis.
Porn for editing enthusiasts, a shot-for-shot remake of Walk Hard, a lesson in printing the legend, and a true star-making turn for Austin Butler, Elvis is a film that throws so many cliches, familiar beats, and opulent montages at the screen, it becomes an invigorating, transformative piece of art unto itself. A scattered cross-section of magnificent spectacle, revisionist history, and lonely moments that chemically react and gleefully erupt as a maximalist rejection of subtlety. Elvis somehow swallows all the sins of lesser biopics and retches up a glorious monument.
Oh, what the fuck did I just call you?
Emily the Criminal is the latest in an appreciably growing number of proletarian, pro-union, Marxist media that challenges capitalistic structures whilst questioning the benign cruelty that guides so many to acts of illegal, morally dubious desperation. And I for one am all for it. After a long streak of being the best thing in bad movies or the secret weapon behind sleeper hits, Aubrey Plaza has shunned any attempt to typecast her based on sardonic snark, and proven definitively that she's a dramatic force to be reckoned with when given material of this caliber. A reminder that the system isn't breaking, it's broken. Pedro Almodovar once again plays to his aesthetic and thematic strengths with another in a long line of immaculate features about women in trouble that blends melodrama, queerness, colour theory, and ruminations on Spain's blood-soaked history. As such, Parallel Mothers serves as an excellent primer to those unfamiliar with one of the greatest living filmmakers, and an invigorating dose for the already converted. It's also further proof that Penelope Cruz does her best work in the arms of this eccentric auteur, and far from the Hollywood pablum she's most widely known for.
1, 2, 3. Come on, I raised you tougher than that. Again.
Coercive control, spousal abuse, postpartum depression. They're all well-worn grooves of contemporary cinema, but few manage to give those subjects as much sinewy and sickening gravitas as Resurrection. A daunting slurry of restrained and deranged. Imagine a Yorgos Lanthimos film where every last reprieve of gallows humour is swapped out with icy ambience. Resurrection makes one thing profoundly clear. Rebecca Hall is one of our greatest actresses, and the quicker folks start getting on board, the sooner we can give her a dump truck of money to make everything and anything she wants to for the rest of her career.
Just not my thing.
Don't be so eager to be offended. The narcissism of small differences leads to the most boring conformity.
To call Tar a condemnation or controversy-baiting take on cancel culture would be to overlook the meticulous nuance and nakedly honest imperfections of its calls for accountability, and to minimise its willingness to show how shielded the powerful are, and how their inevitable fall is cushioned by tremendous privilege. Cate Blanchett's deservedly lauded turn here is a pinpoint-accurate, daring, and gaspingly humorous look at crumbling narcissism. How genius and being a jerk often go hand in hand, and the folly of looking up to stars that are just as likely to burn out brutally as they are to act as warming beacons of inspiration. Some issues with runtime and structure aside, this very narrowly missed out on the top 10.
There's no story about wishing that is not a cautionary tale. None end happily. Not even the ones that are supposed to be jokes.
But you and I are the authors of this story, and we can avoid all traps.
Burdened by a perfect but admittedly cumbersome title and a woeful marketing push, don't let 3,000 Years of Longing's status as a box office bomb deter you. This is a celebratory yet somber rumination on yearning love, compromise, and the role that stories play in shaping our perceptions of the world. With mouth-watering compositional flair and assured unfaltering direction from George Miller, not to mention Idris Elba and Tilda Swinton's rapturous chemistry, 3,000 Years of Longing is a grown-up fairy tale for our disconnected times.
The end is inevitable, Maverick. Your kind is headed for extinction.
Maybe so, sir. But not today.
Top Gun Maverick may be boilerplate, I mean, it's basically Star Wars A New Hope by way of Ace Combat, but it's without a doubt the most stunning, sleek, bedazzled, and expertly crafted boilerplate of 2022. A sequel that tips its cap to the original before wiping the floor with it in every regard, this is the kind of crowd-pleasing, exhilarating blockbuster that proves once and for all Tom Cruise, freaky weirdness aside, is the last true marquee movie star in the business. Dishonourable mentions. An erotic thriller that's about as arousing as picking the hairs out of your grandfather's sex swing, Brazen feels like the fake soap opera from Twin Peaks, crossed with the fake orgasms of 1,000 conservative wives. Let me just tell you a thing that actually happens in this murder mystery, and I'll leave it at that. A suspect with motive, opportunity, and reams of evidence all pointing towards his guilt is immediately deemed innocent of killing multiple women because he's gay. You know, so Brazen decides he'd only kill men, I guess. End of review.
Unforeseen consequences occur.
And every time, every single time, we all act surprised.
A movie that gets progressively dumber with every inconsequential, rudderless scene, Jurassic World Dominion does exactly nothing with the idea that dinosaurs now walk amongst us. Instead, they brush that idea aside with one YouTube clip, seriously, before spending the remaining 2.5 hours waffling on about crop-bothering locusts in poorly lit laboratories. The acting is atrocious, the screenplay almost gave me a nosebleed. Oh, and it's hard to have any tension or sense of danger once Chris Pratt crashes an exploding plane headfirst into solid ground before plunging through a frozen lake without so much as catching a scratch or a shiver.
That is one big pile of shit.
So shite they released it twice, Morbius is so dry, joyless, and devoid of vim and vigour, I felt my sperm count dropping as I watched it. Even the plethora of memes had to be brute forced because there's nothing unintentionally enjoyable or otherwise to grasp onto. Well, at least Jared Harris probably got a nice payday for showing up to this absolute piss bath. Good for you, Jared, you're great in everything, and I'd probably soap myself up in a big old tub of yellow gush too if it was gonna pay my mortgage, so fair enough.
Only I'm here.
There's almost an artistry to the overwhelmingly derivative, plagiarist balderdash that we're looking at here. Do not think I'm exaggerating when I say every single scene, sequence, and attempt to spook in Pray for the Devil is shamelessly stolen and slathered in jump scare stucco. Bonus points for making me laugh consistently, but I could have achieved the same effect by just looking back on my life choices. Smile is what happens when you try to watch The Ring through a Snapchat filter. There's the typical barrage of loud noises and quiet, befuddling filler as any one of these gimmicky frighteners, of which there are literally dozens released every year, except the characters here will occasionally announce at shrieking volume, "Trauma! The theme is trauma, because trauma is traumatic." It does have one of the most effectively nasty images of the year, which the trailer ruined, so I'll just show it here.
Holly.
But other than that, Smile is an overlong, obnoxiously stupid slog that sincerely thinks it's smart. Look, the in-joke vanity project guff of Studio 666 is a horror comedy that's never remotely horrifying or even vaguely comedic, but this year we lost one of the all-time great drummers, and by all rights a good person, and I'd rather take a moment to celebrate the life and work of Taylor Hawkins than pour needless scorn on a movie I've already forgotten. So here are my top 10 Foo Fighters tracks that Taylor Hawkins performed on.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Hey, Lloyd.
Yeah, I immediately don't like you.
Well, I'm glad we're on the same page.
$200 million goes up in CGI smoke as Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans dive out the way of hand grenades in this sophomoric, sterile bore. Action scenes are incoherent, it routinely makes film school 101 level mistakes when it comes to shot composition and blocking, and most damning of all, it's derivative without having the sense to steal the good parts from the thrillers it so haphazardly plunders. As the full-length video I've made about this nonsense already says, the grey man is a grey mess.
We have to get out of here.
Zombies out there!
Those aren't zombies.
The Retaliators isn't afraid to get its hands dirty, as can be seen by its genuinely commendable use of practical gore effects. But unfortunately, it's a philosophy of slop that extends to every single facet of its filmmaking. With the look of a new metal Hallmark movie, editing that dumps flashbacks within flashbacks only to interrupt them with more flashbacks, and subplots aplenty that go exactly nowhere, if the Retaliators' no-budget evangelical attempts at a D- Rob Zombie movie sounds good to you, then hey, more power to you, and I'm glad you liked it more than I did.
Oh, fuck! Are we on
Almost every segment of this fifth installment in the VHS franchise follows the insufferable formula of Phase 1, endless shaky cam with After Effects plugins to add tracking errors and chromatic aberration in a belching attempt to make the footage look like tape. Phase 2, extremely annoying characters, ad-libbing filler dialogue, and eardrum rattling yelps. Phase 3, the segment drags on way past the point of tedium whilst nothing whatsoever happens. And Phase 4, a monster, ghoul, or demon shows up in the closing 90 seconds, and everyone dies. Honestly, you'd be better off watching a blank tape.
At some unclaimed moment, at last, the heart pain seeped away, like water into sand. Still there, but deep.
Where the Crawdads Sing comes off like a spoof of the "aw shucks" slices of southern whimsy begging to be Oscar bait come award season. A parody of self-important poverty tourism, only someone has hacked out all the punchlines and written "Take me seriously" across the bottom of the screen in Comic Sans. What's left is this wine mom fluff that scrambles together whitewashed balderdash with a heaping of insipid schmaltz. Shot like a commercial for antihistamines, delivered as if the entire cast is trying to get fired, and written in a way that seems to fetishize its own boringness, Where the Crawdads Sing belongs in a swamp. Those were our honourable and dishonourable mentions of 2022. Tune in next time for entries 10 through 6 of our best films of the year. A A shout out to our Patreon producers Jennifer C, Claire MD, Becky O, Jake R, Scared Confusion, and Nicholas Lair-Revere, and a humble thank you to all these amazing folks who support us over on Patreon. Sound off in the comments about how many of these films you've seen, and what your overall thoughts on them were, and make sure to like, subscribe, and share these videos wherever you can, as all that engagement really helps us out. If you're in a position to do so, consider checking out the link in the description below to our Patreon, where you can get your name in the credits for as little as $1 a month, and access to the In Frame Out Film Club and our private Discord. As always, thank you for watching. Until next time, this is In Frame Out.